be more widespread. It won't be just one center, but the whole world will become more equal.
Now, I've got to pick up. We're in this beautiful library, the King's Library at the Royal Palace in Stockholm, and I know we've all been looking around, looking at these beautifully bound books. But do you think people use books so much? Because, I mean, the internet now is presumably, and laboratories where most of you do your research. It's a bit sad in a way. Do you not think that people now don't use solid sort of physical books as they used to?
I think it's the ideas that count.
I don't
think physically it matters so much whether it's a book written in Gothic text or a book written in very modern text or something where you're reading, an electronic book or looking on a screen. I think it's the ideas.
It's the
content. I think
so the internet hasn't changed the way you think, perhaps?
Oh, yes, I think it has.
It has changed the way you think.
That's
a different question.
Yes. But it has nothing to do with reading.
But I'll tell you, the internet is a great leveler, because when I was growing up in India, it was very hard to get the latest journals, the latest papers. Information now is much more readily accessible and levels the playing field because of the internet.
Yeah, and when you teach, it's really different, because we used to convey the information to the students. Now they can get the information, and now we actually have to teach. We have to teach more, in a way. Before, we had to just tell them what things were. Now they can find all that, and it's made teaching and ideas much more interesting, because you have to convey more than just what the content was.
Carol, do you think there are other ways the internet has changed?
It really allows collaboration much more readily for people from various countries to get together and do experiments, and that is a way that people can come together to solve some sort of a common problem, and then also come to understand each other. So I think that it really does contribute to mutual understanding of different cultures by people coming together.
George and Bill, because I mean you were working when there was no you're a bit like an old married couple, you two, really, haven't you? Been working together for decades, but no internet.
As an old guy, I use the internet too, but I'm just wondering if it's really all that wonderful. I think there's another mechanism that has to take place of distillation of information. In other words, if you look with regard to physics, it seems to me that in the past certain schools of physics were responsible for the major changes in the whole science of physics. And now, does that mean that with the internet that you're going to get lots and lots of these centers or not? I don't know. I don't think I have a feeling yet which way it's going to go, because I think you still need some kind of brain that sort of takes the information and distills it a little bit, and not just is what I think of when I think of the internet.
Related to that, actually, I mean, I think the internet has been very liberating, but I read in a very argumentative way, and if I have papers in front of me or hardbound books in front of me and take issue with the subject matter as I move through it, that's much more satisfying than doing the same thing on the internet. And maybe that's just that these argumentative skills can be developed with reference to the internet, but it hasn't been the same experience for me.
All right. So what does the future hold then for all of you ladies and gentlemen? I mean, both Bill and George have retired. I think they're the only two who've really been retired for many, many years. I mean, George, there is life after science, isn't there? Because you went sailing around the world with your wife, Peggy, for 17 years.
That's right. We got lost.
Oh, well, is that why it took so long? it was an original plan for just 3 months, and then you spent 17 years. So you've enjoyed your retirement, haven't you? I mean, have you stopped doing science altogether?
Essentially, yes. I have recognized that as you grow older and your body gets a little weaker, that if you're honest with yourself, so does your mind.
Bill?
Well, I can tell you one thing that I enjoy tremendously now, and that's art. In other words, I was involved in science for a while, and I liked that, and then mathematics. But now I find that art offers a challenge of a different kind, but also very satisfying. In other words, there's a whole different kind of area to be explored here that I enjoy tremendously right now. Okay. So there's hope for everybody, even old people.
So you see, life after science, I mean, not one of you mentioned a novel that had inspired you, so just go quickly around the table. Okay, you, Jack. I mean, is there life after science?
I'm not ready to think about that. I'm still very engaged. I'm most interested in the experiments we're doing right now.
Okay.
And I want to keep doing that work.
Oliver?
Well, I actually have retired, so I'm not teaching, but I keep a pretty active schedule and working on own projects and joint projects with young colleagues, and hope to keep chugging along.
Elizabeth, you want to win more prizes now you've got the Nobel Prize?
No, the prize is to do science. I mean, that's what I love to do. But I think to the point of what you do as you change with age, and you should. I learned from fencing that, you know, a wily 70-year-old can outfox a young teenager in fencing by just being smarter about it, even though they don't necessarily have the agility. So I think what we can do with our minds as they age is sort of use the wiliness that we've accumulated and help the young scientists do exciting science without necessarily having that sort of same dynamic of discovery that you might have had when you're younger.
Because, Ellen, I mean, society is often obsessed with youth and wanting to retire people at 60, 65, and you've got this huge bank of knowledge that is still obviously so useful, isn't it?
Well, I'm enjoying teaching. I have several research projects going and working with young people. We've always had the sense of young, medium, and old folks working together, and
long may that last.
Well, I hope.
Okay, Carol.
Well, I have several full-time jobs at the moment. I'm a mom of a 10 and a 13-year-old, so I can't really think about retiring, as well as all of my other multiple jobs that I have. So I'm having fun just doing all of those.
No, it's just, is there life after science? So you like sailing, don't you, Benke? You've got a canoe.
I don't like sailing, but I have lots of hobbies and interests. I like reading and cycling and hiking and things like that. So my life is actually, and music. My son is a professional musician. So I think, you know, I have a very rich life, and science is part of that. And I just don't think that balance is going to change. Perhaps as I get older, the balance may shift to perhaps less work and more of my outside interest.
So.
Well, I hope to carry on as usual for the moment. I like working in the lab, and people in the lab. It's terrific. I like gardening. I'll carry on with my gardening. I like cooking. I'll carry on with my cooking. And as Venki says, well, the mix may change as time passes, but there's lots of interesting stuff to do.
Do you cook with a scientist's precision?
I like hiking.
Do you?
There's so many. Oh, of course.
Do you and weigh everything carefully?
Oh, indeed. My wife gets sort of wonders about that because I have to measure it out. I say, well, it's chemistry after all.
Oh, that's a scientist cooking. Yeah, okay. You've all spoken. Ada, last word to you.
Earlier you asked me if I'm going to rest, and I said resting is very hard work. Yeah. Now I'm going to answer this question. I think that I'll go on working because I like it. But I have some other dreams. For years and years I wanted to start writing, and I have some prose writing. And maybe I will be able now to get some time to do this. But interest in life is very important. One can find it in very many ways. I think that I'll stay a bit with ribosomes. Maybe not forever, ever, but for some time.
Okay, well, very appropriate to end this discussion, this conversation with you Nobel laureates in a nice technical word like ribosome. So, thank you all very much. You know, I really enjoyed talking to you all, and I've been very struck by all of you, really, in the sense that even from a very early age, you obviously all had a very intense curiosity about how the world works. And for those of you watching at home, can science save the world? Well, I think perhaps we have given you some answers to that. From me, Zainab Badawi, in the King's Library in the Royal Palace in Stockholm, goodbye.